What's up, survivors? King Futs here, and welcome to Kingdom Futs, where we take you through every important mechanic in DayZ. From hunting and cooking, PvP and combat, base building, explosives, and much, much more. In a world where everything is trying to kill you, Camp Futs is your ticket to survival mastery. This video serves as the short and sweet introduction to DayZ, so beginning players can get their feet underneath them, before falling face first into the 1,000,001 ways this game can and will kill you. You're stepping into a hardcore survival like no other. The developers have a philosophy where the player doesn't get skilled through hand-holding and RPG mechanics. If you want to build a shelter, you're going to have to learn how, and the game is not going to tell you. Skilled DayZ players have taken the time to do the research. They know to build that shelter, they're going to need a rope, 4 long sticks, and 50 short sticks. You know that putting on sunglasses will reduce sun flare. You know that blowing on hot coals will reignite a fire that's gone out. And you know that a meat tenderizer can be used as a hammer in a pinch. Or rather, you will once Camp Futs is done with you. If you haven't caught on yet, DayZ is a game of knowledge. It doesn't matter how good you are with a gun or how great you are at sneaking around if all of your time is spent starving to death on the coast. And that's where Camp Futs comes in. You'll learn to make it off the coast consistently and with confidence. But before we get too far into the weeds, a little context might be helpful. DayZ doesn't have much of a story to follow or overarching mission to accomplish, beyond surviving. But astute players may come across hints of lore in the environment, clues that people were here before us with goals of their own. Who knows? Our goals are simple. We need to keep track of our thirst, hunger, temperature, blood levels, and health. But DayZ might be the most hardcore survival game out there, with a steep learning curve and punishing mechanics. We'll need to learn to deal with diseases and infections, shock damage, wetness level, carry weight. We'll need to avoid getting killed by zombies, wolves, bears, gas zones, artillery strikes, other players, broken bones, wound infections, cholera, the flu, pneumonia, poisoning, freezing, overheating. The list goes on and on. Every single one of these metrics is of paramount importance to your survival in the apocalypse, and Camp Futs will help you master every single one of them, on top of other valuable skills, like finding loot, fighting players, hiding stashes, and navigating the wasteland. So why don't we get started with a few essential tips and tricks that I wish someone told me when I first started playing DayZ. If you aren't already, get familiar with iSurvive. It's a community-made map and an absolutely essential tool for beginning players. I still use it to this day, whether I'm using it to decipher signs and figure out which town I'm in, or finding things like water pumps or police stations inside that town. iSurvive also gives you a pretty decent breakdown of DayZ's loot tier system, which divides the map into 4 tiers. The more north and west you go, the higher the tier and the better the loot, specifically in militarized zones where the best loot can be found. The highest tier weapons and gear will be found within inside these military zones, but be careful as these are going to be PvP hotspots, the place where other players will also come for that same high tier loot. Eventually, players are going to become your biggest concern in the wasteland. A topic that we break down thoroughly in our combat related episodes, but for now, we're going to have to go over those metrics I mentioned before. Your stat icons will change color depending on how well you're taking care of that particular metric. White means good, yellow means okay, red means bad, and blinking means fatal. We'll get to what a blue thermometer means in just a minute. Now, all of your stats are important, but in particular, let your blood stat or your health stat reach 0 and you earn yourself a one-way ticket back to the coast. So first off, we have the thirst stat, indicated by the bottle in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. This one is pretty straightforward. It represents your character's current hydration level. Go too long without drinking, and your character will become dehydrated. Remedying this stat is as simple as drinking safe liquids. But not all liquids in DayZ are safe to drink. Drinking cans of soda is generally safe, but avoid drinking out of canteens and water bottles you find around the map. Chances are these canteens will be contaminated with heavy metal poisoning. Instead, empty the contents of the canteen out onto the ground and refill the water bottle at one of the water pumps located around the map. Most of the towns you visit will have their own water pump, and water pumps are always a source of clean water. This is a good opportunity to get familiar with the iSurvive map, which will display the locations of all the water pumps. We'll do a full breakdown of the iSurvive map in our navigation-related episodes, so check it out. Assuming it's safe, when you approach a water fountain, be sure to drink from it until the full stomach icon appears to get the most bang for your buck, and then continue for a few more sips. But, to be clear, it is never truly safe to stop moving entirely in DayZ, especially in high traffic areas like water pumps. Instead, fill a water bottle or canteen and continue moving around while drinking. Not only is this faster than drinking directly from the water pump, but it also denies anybody camping the water pump an easy shot. Now, the stomach icon is more or less just a warning that continuing to eat or drink could result in your character vomiting, but the icon itself doesn't come with any status effects or debuffs on its own. But if it really bothers you, performing the vomit emote will effectively get rid of the icon, but note this heavily damages your character's stamina bar and does not help with poisoning. Next up, we have the hunger stat, indicated by the apple icon in the bottom right of your screen. The icon displays your character's current level of nutrition, and your stamina bar uses that nutrition to regenerate. So don't let your hunger stat get too low or it could spell trouble. For now, just know to keep our hunger stat under control, we're going to need to eat food. But this is DayZ and nothing is that straightforward. Eating burnt food, rotten food, or raw meat will make us sick. Again, there are some nuances to this mechanic which we'll go over in a future cooking related lesson. For now, just know that you'll want to cook your food whenever possible. Properly cooking your food not only makes it safe to eat, but greatly increases the amount of nutrition you get from each individual piece of food. So, we know we need food, but how do we find it? When starting out in DayZ, most players resort to looting buildings for snacks or cans of food, but believe me when I say relying on that method will leave you starved to death on the side of the road with nothing but an unopened can of beans in your inventory. And that's if you're not spotted by another player first. Instead, try and get your hands on one of these bladed tools here. Believe me, they are plentiful. And if you find yourself searching high and low and can't seem to find a bladed tool, after this, be sure to check out episode 1 on knives to see how we can use any of these blunt tools here to quickly get our hands on a blade. For example, knives can be used to skin any animal in the game, but can't be used to gather large rocks from a boulder. A tool like a pipe wrench can be used to gather rocks, but can't be used to skin an animal. Some tools, like a pickaxe or a crowbar, can be used to mine rocks and skin large animals, but can't skin small animals like chickens or foxes. Check out the lessons on tools for a better breakdown. There are a wide variety and plenty of nuances to learn about the tools in DayZ. And once you've done that, congratulations, you have the key to survival in the palm of your hands. Let me show you how. Once you have a blade, there are 2 extremely effective ways of getting all the food you could possibly need in DayZ. Next, open up your iSurvive map to help locate yourself an animal like a chicken or a cow. Even if it feels like it takes a while, a couple of chicken steaks will give you way more nutrition than anything you're likely to find looting the town. But if you can get your hands on some extra clothes in your search for an animal, even better. Use the knife to tear the clothes into rags. Then combine 2 stacks of 6 rags to craft yourself some rope. Next, use your knife on a short stick to carve yourself a fishing hook. Pro tip, use your knife on animal guts to craft improvised rope, and use your knife on animal bones to craft a fishing hook. Lastly, use your knife on some dirt to gather worms for bait. Attach the hook to the rod and the worm to the hook, and take your rod to any body of water to begin fishing. Be sure to check out our lesson on fishing to learn how to fish most effectively. The best part is that both of these methods can be done more or less immediately after finding a knife, allowing us to get our hands on copious amounts of food very early on in our playthrough. So you've got your hands on some chicken steaks or some fish fillet, but eating raw meats will make us sick, so we're going to need to find a way to cook them. In order to cook our food, we'll need to begin by making a fire. There are a variety of ways to make fire in DayZ, but for today we'll go over the easiest method for beginners. The advanced stuff we cover in our lesson dedicated to fire. For now, the basics. You'll need 3 things to start a successful fire: ignition and kindling to start a fire, and fuel to keep it going. Today we'll be focusing on these items here, as they'll be the easiest to acquire for new players. The bark will become our kindling, and the hand drill kit will become our ignition tool. Unless you're cooking with a gas stove, more on that in our lessons on cooking, short sticks and firewood are the only fuel game in town. Lucky for us, they're both easy to acquire. You may have already figured this one out, but without any tools, some bushes will give you short sticks and some will give you long sticks. But what a lot of players don't know is you can actually gather firewood from certain bushes without the use of any tools. Just be sure to wear your gloves if you're using your hands, or you'll run the risk of getting cut. If you have a knife, you can cut bark from the side of most trees, and if you have yourself an axe or a saw, you can cut entire logs from trees. And using an axe, you can turn those logs right into firewood. So once we have our materials, we'll want to combine a short stick with a piece of bark to craft a hand drill kit. Once that's done, we need to craft a fireplace. Combine any two materials you see here to craft a fireplace. Here, we'll use the same two materials we used for the hand drill, a short stick and a piece of bark. We use these materials as they'll be the easiest to acquire, especially for new players, but you could also combine a carnival mask with a bandage or a short stick and a rag. The choice is yours. Regardless of which materials you decide to use, once you're all said and done, we'll need to have a piece of kindling in any of these slots here and some fuel in either of these slots here. Once you have that, hold your ignition tool and look at the fire for the prompt to give it a light, and voila, you're ready to start cooking. When it comes to cooking, food in DayZ has three main values that you'll want to pay attention to: the nutrition level, the hydration level, and the decay speed. Most of the food you find in DayZ will come raw, but some items can be baked, boiled, or dried for extra benefits. Raw food goes bad quickly, but baked food will last much longer and gives you a great increase in nutritional value, but at the cost of a small amount of hydration. The easiest way to bake your food is to put it in the cooking slot of a fireplace, but you can also use your knife to sharpen a long stick and attach the food to the end of the stick. Approach a fire for the prompt and hold down the button for one full circle. Any longer runs the risk of burning the food, making it useless. Boiling food will make it last longer than raw, a little less than baked, but with a slight increase in calories and no hydration loss whatsoever. In order to boil food, you'll need to get your hands on a cooking pot. Fill the cooking pot with water and place the food that you want boiled inside. Then, either attach the cooking pot to a cooking stand or place it in a fireplace with an available cooking slot. If no such fireplace is available, you can actually craft your very own cooking stand by combining one long stick and two short sticks. Attach the cooking stand to the fire and place the pot into the cooking stand. Then, either monitor the food until you see that it's changed color or listen out for the audio cue that indicates when the food is done cooking. Drying food will ensure that it never goes rotten and you lose no nutritional value, but this comes at the cost of almost all of your hydration value. Dry your foods by placing them in the smoking slot of an active fireplace. This mechanic isn't restricted to meats either. Although eating a vegetable raw will not make you sick, you can boil, bake, or dry it for those extra benefits. Just be sure not to eat the food immediately after cooking it. It will be too hot. Instead, wait for the status of the food to change to warm, to avoid taking any unnecessary damage. Next up, you have the temperature stat. More or less straightforward, the environment has a temperature. Your clothes have an insulation value. Together, these values make up your temperature stat, indicated by the thermometer in the bottom right. A blue thermometer means you are too cold, and a yellow or red thermometer means you are too hot. Leave your temperature stat in the blue for too long and you could catch a cold. Left unchecked, this could develop into the flu or pneumonia. Get too hot for too long and you could develop hyperthermia. Yes, that is a thing that can kill you in DayZ. Now, there are a few different methods to influence your temperature, whether you want to become colder or hotter. There are some obvious ones, like standing near a fire to keep warm or jumping into a lake to cool off. At nighttime, temperatures drop dramatically. Staying inside will give you shelter from the cold. But be careful lighting fires at night. Even inside, the illumination from a fire can be seen from a long ways away. Even in the daytime, lighting a fire at a fireplace inside a building will produce smoke out the chimney, which can also be seen from a long ways away. On top of the insulation value, our clothes also have a wetness value, which dramatically impacts both our carry weight and our temperature. The wetness level of our clothes is indicated here, and this can be remedied in a variety of ways. The most effective way being to wring your clothes out and drop them on the ground beside a fire. To wring your clothes out, simply place them in your hands and wait for the prompt. Once you see the status of your clothes as damp, place them next to a fire to dry them off quickly. But be careful not to place them too close to the fire, because this will damage any item. As a pro tip, some fireplaces have a collision box too large to get close enough to actually damage you or your items, making them very handy places to dry your clothes. Another pro tip, you can actually craft yourself a torch, combining a rag with a long or short stick. Add animal fat to the torch to make it last even longer. This can even be done with rotten animal fat. Not only does holding a torch illuminate the room that you're standing in, but it also provides you with a heat buff. Drop the torch on the ground with your clothes to dry them even faster than a fire. Another pro tip, you can actually increase your temperature dramatically for the short term by placing hot objects inside your inventory. Note that they must go inside a piece of clothing that is touching your body, like your shirt or your pants. Vests and backpacks won't work for this method. You can also get a heat buff by hanging out next to fires for long enough. This is indicated by the 1, 2, or 3 plus signs next to your temperature icon. The heat buff will protect you from the elements even in the harshest conditions like freezing water or snow on Sakal. Next up, you have your blood level, indicated by the teardrop icon in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Another pretty straightforward one, in combat you may get cut. When you get cut, you will bleed, reducing your blood levels. Let these blood levels get too low and your character will become lethargic and your screen will slowly lose all of its color. Let that blood level reach 0 and you've earned yourself a one-way ticket to the coast. If you are cut, you can stop your bleeding by wrapping it up, either with bandages or with rags. You can also sew a wound shut using a sewing kit. Sewing kits and bandages can be found around the map, but we can actually create our own rags by tearing apart clothes that we don't need. When using an item to heal a cut, make sure you check out the disinfected status of that item. If the item is not disinfected, you run the risk of getting a wound infection. A wound infection is the only status in DayZ that completely ignores the metrics of your character. You can be completely healthy, just pop a multivitamin and a tetra, and still catch a wound infection. It's not the most serious ailment you can catch in DayZ, but it's something to look out for. If you want to learn more, check out our health-related lessons. Next up, we have the health stat, indicated by the cross in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Taking damage in combat or ignoring your other statuses for long enough will reduce your health points. Letting those health points drop to 0 means game over. But you do have a few tools at your disposal to prevent yourself from taking damage in combat. For starters, you can actually block any incoming melee attack by holding the aim button and backing up. The item you're holding has no influence over this mechanic. You can block just as well with your bare hands as you can with a knife. Blocking will completely negate any melee damage taken from the front by a player or infected. Simply running from infected is not recommended, because infected have no stamina bar and can run forever. The trick to escaping is getting obstacles between you and the infected. Luckily, DayZ's pathfinding for infected and really all NPCs is absolute dog water, so we have a couple of options at our disposal. For instance, running at these walls with the gaps underneath them and tapping the prone button will actually let you dive underneath the wall. DayZ zombies can vault over some obstacles like walls and fences, but they can't open doors, climb ladders, or get on top of platforms, even short ones like cars. So jumping on top of a car may provide you a safe place to regain some stamina. But this is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. Aggroed animals and zombies will not simply get bored and walk away after a certain amount of time. As long as they maintain line of sight, they're in it for the long game. So get on top of the obstacle, catch your breath, and don't stand too close to the edge. Eventually, you can start taking pot shots at the zombies without them being able to reach you. Another popular strategy is to lead aggroed zombies into buildings and then close the door behind you on your way out, locking them in. This is a great way to make the aggroed infected somebody else's problem. Infected are also attracted to sound, whether that's the sound of you running, talking, shooting your weapon, or the sound of another aggroed zombie. It's a common myth that infected are also attracted to light, like headlamps or flashlights, but a little bit of testing proves that this is not the case. So when it comes to the infected, just focus on staying quiet. You actually have a noise indicator in the bottom left-hand side of the screen. The amount of gear you're carrying as well as the kind of shoes you're wearing will impact how much sound you make when you run. Crouch walking will reduce your sound, and currently the Hunter boots are the quietest pair of boots in the game, but you can take it a step further by taking off your boots entirely. Just know that running around without shoes increases the risk of cutting your feet. Unaggroed zombies can also be stealth assassinated if you sneak up behind them and press the melee button. This can be done with a variety of tools, ones we'll go over in our video dedicated to knives. And as a pro tip, running around in the rain will almost entirely mask the sound of your footsteps to the infected. So you know that your wetness level will increase your carry weight, and an increased carry weight increases the amount of noise you make when moving around. But did you also know an increased carry weight also dramatically reduces your stamina? The weight of each individual item that you're holding is indicated right here. Keep this number as low as possible to maintain those benefits we just talked about. There is another hidden stat in DayZ highly related to your health points, and it's called shock damage. You may be able to take 100 points of damage to your health before you die, but you can only take 75 points of shock damage before your character is knocked unconscious. You can identify an unconscious player via their right arm. Unconscious players will fall on their backs with their right arm raised, while dead players will be in some other position. Players knocked unconscious will be unable to move or access their inventory and will continue to take bleed damage from cuts. Be sure to double tap unconscious players to make sure that they stay down. If you've been knocked unconscious, cross your fingers that your opponent did not notice, and in a few moments, you might have an opportunity to take revenge. Keep in mind that when you're knocked unconscious, you'll drop any item that you may have had in your hand. When you come to, be sure to check your vicinity to find the item that you may have dropped before you take off. Now, in melee combat, you have heavy attacks and you have light attacks. Doing a heavy attack will take up more stamina, but it gives you an opportunity to stun lock your opponent, as long as you have the stamina to keep it up. This is particularly useful indoors, where your opponent won't have enough room to stumble away once you stun lock them. Even more useful still is stun locking your opponent with a pistol, allowing you precious moments to line up a good headshot to follow up. Different melee weapons will have different amounts of health damage, shock damage, and bleed chance. Conversely, the gear that you wear will have different levels of protection against these types of damage. Currently, the medieval suit of armor provides the best protection, and the medieval mace has the quickest time to kill, doing an ungodly amount of shock damage. You've also got sprained ankles, broken bones, and diseases. Sprained ankles aren't such a big deal, but a broken leg can quickly put an end to your playthrough. You can't walk far without passing out due to the pain, so you're going to want to get your hands on a splint. Apply the splint and avoid falling off the side of any more cliffs, and your broken leg should be healed in no time. We cover each and every disease and ailment in a dedicated video during Camp Futs, so be sure to check those out. But if I could give you 3 main hygiene tips in this video here, tip number 1 is to make sure you always wash your hands before eating if you've recently skinned an animal without gloves on. If you have, your hands will be covered in blood, and eating with bloody hands will make you sick. Simply approach a body of water with your bare hands and look for the prompt. If you don't see a prompt, your hands are probably already clean. A handy tip is to wear gloves when skinning the animal to avoid this problem entirely. Another pro tip is you can actually craft your own gloves using rags. In fact, you can actually craft an entire outfit head to toe, including shoes. Not only are the improvised shoes some of the quietest in the game, they also protect your feet against cuts and have a surprising amount of durability, considering they were crafted literally out of rags. The second health-related tip is to always make sure your food is cooked and to know where it came from. This tip goes for water as well. Be sure to boil any water that you find lying around the wasteland, or stick to drinking from the water pumps. The second half of that takeaway is to make sure you know where your food came from. Accidentally ingesting some human meat, for example, will end up giving you Kuru disease, indicated by the maniacal laughter coming from your character every now and then. You may find it hard to make friends in the apocalypse if they know you're a cannibal. Kuru disease is incurable and easy to catch by mistake. While human steaks can be identified easily by their shape, human fat and animal fat look the exact same, whether or not they're cooked. Check out our lesson on cannibalism if you're interested. And the third hygiene tip I want you to take away from this video is to always heal your cuts using items that have been disinfected. Look for the disinfected status on the item, and if it's not disinfected, you can use one of these 3 items here to disinfect them. Do these 3 things and you'll dodge 99% of the diseases you can catch in DayZ. But what happens if you don't? There are a lot of medical related items in DayZ, ones we'll go over in thorough detail in our medicine related videos. For now, I just want you to focus on these 2 things here. We have multivitamins and tetracycline. Multivitamins boost your immune system, allowing you to do things like drink from contaminated water sources or eat bad food without getting sick. Tetracycline pills act as antibiotics, allowing your character to fight off diseases that you may catch along the way. The last mechanic that we need to cover before we move into more advanced things is our item durability. Each item in DayZ has a rating located here. Items can be pristine, worn, damaged, badly damaged, or ruined. Once an item has been ruined, it can no longer be repaired. Ruined clothes cannot be re-equipped once they've been taken off and will lose their intended benefits. Ruined shoes won't protect your feet from cuts, ruined armor won't protect you from damage, and ruined food can no longer be eaten. You get the idea. There are a variety of tools in DayZ that can be used to repair your items. Repair clothes with sewing kits or duct tape. Repair leather items with leather repair kits. Helmets can be repaired with epoxy putty, blades with sharpening stones. Electronics with electronic repair kits, and guns can be repaired using the gun cleaning kit. More on this in Camp Futs' loot-related lessons. The last few tips I want to give you in this video are combat-related. Almost nothing in DayZ is easy, and combat is no different. Ammo must be loaded individually into magazines, guns jam, scopes need to be sighted in, and it doesn't end there. Today, we'll go over some of the basics, but future lessons on firearms will go over all of these mechanics in much more depth. Hold Y on Xbox or triangle on PlayStation to manually load ammo into your gun or magazine. Swap fire modes by holding your left trigger and tapping A or X. Use this to swap between semi, burst, or full auto, or from single to double. Really all depends on the weapon that you're using. When using a scoped rifle, hold down the left trigger and tap left on the D-pad to adjust your range. Use a rangefinder to find the distance and elevation, then adjust your scope accordingly. And as a pro tip, hold down the firing button when using a scoped rifle to keep a visual of your target. Simply tapping the button will have your character lower their sights and work the action. Holding the button will give you a better idea of where your bullet went and whether or not you hit your target. As a bonus tip, use tracer rounds for an even better visual. Now, this video barely scratches the surface of DayZ combat. I can make entire videos on bullet drop, penetration mechanics, damage drop-off, and so on. And you know what? I probably will. But this video here has already gone on long enough, and if you're still here watching, I want to say thanks. For those of you who made it this far into the video and haven't learned anything new, I want to make you a deal. I'll be releasing another video alongside this one, a 20 secret tips and tricks video with a series of useful tips and tricks getting progressively more advanced and obscure. And if I can teach you at least one new thing about DayZ that you didn't know before, subscribe to the channel. Guaranteed you didn't know the last one, and that's not a gimmick either, it's a genuine challenge. These will be my first 2 DayZ videos so far, and there's a whole lot more where that came from, so be sure to stay tuned. And let me mention just one more thing before we wrap things up. I've started a DayZ Xbox server called Camp Futs, and with your help, I want to turn it into a thriving DayZ community. Look out for the server called Futs on page 3 of the Xbox community servers. It's a PvP server with PvE bunkers, teleporters, custom maps made by yours truly, and much, much more. If you see a Camp Futs video and like what you see, come visit me in Arsenobo, a safe zone in the Camp Futs server, and see for yourself where all the magic happens. I have a variety of community games ready to host on the server and a brand new wide open map to carve out a little slice of paradise for yourself and get in on the action. Check out the server ads playlist for more details. And if you see a tutorial video on the channel and want to try out the game mechanics for yourself, chances are the tutorial tables you see in my lessons are right here at Camp Futs. Check the pinned comments for the most up-to-date invite to the Discord server, and the first 100 members will get exclusive benefits on the server, with even bigger benefits for anybody willing to boost the server so we can get ourselves a custom invite code. So bring your friends, start a faction, and get to surviving. Now, if you liked the video you saw today, please drop a like at your convenience, and if you want to see more and support the channel growth, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. If you're not sold on the subscription yet, take on my challenge and check out this tips and tricks video. Or check out episode 1 on knives and begin on the road to mastery of every DayZ mechanic. And never forget, the apocalypse is a dangerous and unforgiving place, so keep your gun loaded, your fire lit, and your Bible close. And welcome to Camp Futs.